What's up, in crowd? Today's special guest, we do have Jasmine Stewart, UCF student and president of Students for Life of America. Jasmine, what is your major and your year here at UCF?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. My major is biomedical science, and I'm a third year student.
Okay. And what prompted you to start this pro-life RSO at the UCF? And what was the process to get it approved by SGA or whoever it had to be approved by?
I believe what prompted me was way back in 2024, actually, is where my journey kind of started there with Amendment 4 being on the ballot during the 2024 elections. I started getting more politically involved at that time and learning about what Students for Life was. And then I started one over at Seminole State College when I was there. And then transferring over to UCF, I started one here as well. Um, and the process was very long and tedious. Um, Basically, you have to draft up a constitution, and then they nitpick the Constitution and find any mistakes in it, even ones that seem a little bit silly, but it is what it is, and then it takes quite a bit to approve it. So we only just got RSO status a couple weeks ago after I submitted the application in like the first week of the semester. So it takes a while.
Okay. And since you've just been approved, do you still table on campus? If so, like you said, you just started 2 weeks ago, so you just table now as of like since you've been accepted as an RSO on campus.
Yeah, luckily, UCF they respect a lot of the First Amendment rights that people have. So, because it's a public university, I'm allowed to table in certain locations as frequently as I want, whether or not I'm a student here or whether or not I'm an actual RSO here. So, I've been tabling several times a week since the beginning. But now, since I'm RSO status, I'm able to hold indoor events, reserve rooms, borrow materials from the Office of Student Involvement, and those other advantages of being actually registered with the school.
Okay, and what are your specific goals or hope to achieve as the president of the SFLA organization?
My goals would be to help students understand that there are more options that are around them outside of, the Planned Parenthood or any other abortion clinic that might try to tell a woman that, her best option is death. And I firmly believe that that's not the best option for her, and that it's definitely not the best option for the new life that's inside of her. So yeah, the overall goal is to make sure that women know that they have resources and that they are truly supported.
And have you seen any growing interest or involvement from students who identify as a pro-life advocate?
Absolutely. A lot of the similar organizations that have similar views as me have expressed interest. Conservative organizations like Turning Point and YAF, and College Republicans. And then I'm also connecting with a lot of ministries on campus. So
Okay.
the CCM group, they, not necessarily as an organization, but there's a lot of strongly pro-life individuals within it that hold strong convictions that are, more than willing to go out of their way to fight for this cause. BCM is another one, Baptist Collegiate Ministry. So yeah, just getting connected with other like-minded organizations has been a great way to find pro-life advocates.
Awesome. And within these organizations, are they coming up to you, or are you going up to them, or is it kind of like both?
At the moment, it's more me going up to them. It's a very new organization.
Okay.
A lot of people don't even know that Students for Life exists, let alone on UCF campus.
Right.
So yeah, a lot of the beginning parts is me going up to them saying, hey, I'm getting this thing started. Do you want to be a part of it? How can I collaborate with you? And we can kind of back off each other here. My hope is that later on people will, hear about it elsewhere and then come to me so that we can get more connections going on. So.
Awesome. And what challenges does your organization face today with engaging with modern feminist perspectives? Or I know that you just said that, a lot of people don't know a lot about SFLA, but what do you think about the challenges that, pro-life people or advocates face on a daily basis because of these, feminist ideologies?
A very closed-minded perspective, I would say. There's a lot of people that come up to me that have genuine questions, and I love those conversations. But there's a lot of people that just walk by and say, well, you hate women, so I'm not even going to talk to you.
Right.
And it's like, oh, well, how could you say this as a woman? You're disgusting. Or I have, men at my table that are very proudly pro-life, and they get told, well, you can't even talk about it because you don't have a uterus. And it's like, how are we supposed to have these conversations if you're just completely unwilling to?
Right.
So that's kind of the biggest struggle, is just people not even willing to talk about it.
And what are your thoughts on abortion being considered as part of healthcare and a matter of human rights specifically to women?
That one, I would really challenge their definition of healthcare there, considering that the death rate is over half of all the procedures, given all of the victims of the abortion that are within the womb, as well as the few additional that are the women that are also killed from the procedure. So I would really struggle to consider it a successful procedure given its death rate. So healthcare is not something that should be intentionally killing a human life. It's still one of the patients at the end of the day. So it's kind of an odd way to put healthcare to me. I understand that it's a medical procedure, sure, but like so is a lobotomy, and I don't really see anybody calling that healthcare. So I challenge the word healthcare there, and call it really a successful one. So.
And have you had any conversations that changed your or refined your perspective on abortions? Like, have you had maybe any conversations with a person that maybe have had an abortion because of certain circumstances, or any circumstances that are out there, and you're like, wow, it's upsetting that would happen to this woman or this individual. So what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, sure it's shaped to a little bit. It hasn't necessarily made it more in the direction of pro-choice. In fact, it actually tends to make me, lean even stronger in my convictions because these women, you know, are so falsely led into these harmful lies. I've had a woman come up to me like on the verge of tears saying, I got an abortion last week and I had to do it. I had no other option. I went to these pregnancy clinics and I saw that these things that made my baby feel very real, but like I had no other option. I really wish that women like that felt supported, and that hopefully something like this can lead women to that and show that there is support around them. So yeah, there's perspectives where I'm like, I understand, and I truly do. I surround myself with this kind of thing every single day. It's not that I don't understand the struggles that women go through. It's just that I really wish that people weren't lying to them and saying that this is the right thing to do. I think another thing that's kind of changed my perspective of it, or not necessarily my perspective, but how I go about the conversation, is people that don't seem to understand the difference between an induced abortion and a spontaneous abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really wish we would change the wording around that because it makes it very confusing for like laws and stuff like that. Um,
Can you educate the in crowd and just like what the difference
Absolutely.
is, please?
Absolutely. So, because a miscarriage procedure in which, the miscarriage, the fetal remains are not properly, you know, carried through natural labor outward, sometimes there are complications with that, and we would call that a spontaneous abortion, where the patient is brought into a medical facility where they will induce labor, or they will forcibly take out the fetal remains, which is a terrible thing. It's an awful tragedy that a woman has to go through, and it's an awful tragedy that life was no longer, carried through. But we're not sitting here arguing the morality around that. That'd be silly, right? Like, why, I'm not arguing that we should keep a dead baby inside of her. That doesn't make any sense. However, an induced abortion is a completely intentional and forceful killing of a human life and then removing it. So, because the procedure is a little bit similar in the way that we remove it, um, the difference there is the intentional killing part, and so that's what we're against, not the already dead part. That just sucks. There's nothing we can do about that. But because it's such a similar procedure and such similar wording, it's making it where people are pointing out the laws around it that we currently have that have restrictions on abortions, and doctors are going, well, because it's an abortion, I can't do anything about this. And then women are unfortunately dying. I'm not going to deny that. Women are unfortunately dying due to abortion restriction laws. But we're not saying get rid of the laws, reform it, change it so that we're being more specific and saying we are not sitting here arguing against treating miscarriage, women that have miscarried. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So I think specifying and reforming those laws is very important. And I'm not going to deny that there have been mistakes in them. But yeah, so the conversations like that, to wrap up my point here, has changed the way I go about these conversations and making sure that I'm very specific in what I'm saying. Because otherwise people will be like, well, women are dying, and so you can't really be for women by being anti-abortion. I'm like, that's not true at all. So just being more specific is how I've changed my conversations about it. So, that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
No, it definitely does make sense, and I appreciate you enlightening everybody here on these facts about abortion, just so people can understand as well of what you're advocating for. And does your organization partner with like any nonprofit sponsors or organizations yet that provide resources for students interested in pro-life advocacy, and for those that may be looking for an alternative rather than having an abortion?
Yeah, so Students for Life of America itself is a nonprofit. It's considered a 501c3 organization. And so Students for Life, as an overarching organization, does a lot of little projects. They help take care of a lot of the women that are facing unexpected pregnancies. Um, they actually, one fun fact, do you remember the woman last year that went into she got into an accident and was brain dead but had a baby inside of her, so it became like this big online debate of if she should keep this woman alive to carry the child or not. Do you remember her?
I don't.
I want to say it's not Amber Thurman. I don't remember her name if I'm completely honest. But Students for Life took care of all of her medical bills to ensure that that baby did get carried on to be able to be delivered. So stuff like that, like things like that. Yeah, so that's what they do. And then also Choices Women's Clinic. It's a couple miles down from the UCF campus, and we partner with them specifically because it's so accessible to students at UCF campus. They are considered a pregnancy center, but they are also a clinical center because they're very blessed in that churches around them pour a lot of money so that they can have medical professionals there. Most pregnancy clinics or most pregnancy centers are more so just resources, providing diapers, baby clothes, ultrasounds, and then connecting them to other, you know, larger resources
Right.
that can help them with life affirming physical, tangible needs, and then also spiritual needs. But luckily, Choices Women's Clinic that's down the road from us can have more than just those basic needs. They also have, STD testing, hemoglobin testing, so many different services that, all the same stuff that Planned Parenthood provides,
Right.
but just not the killing part, which is great.
Exactly.
And then Choices Clinic is also very intentional in where they put themselves, just like how Planned Parenthood is. Planned Parenthood parks itself directly next to our campus. They know exactly where their customers are. And so Choices tries to combat that and say, we have what you need here, but we're not going to, advocate for adding trauma to your life already by killing your child. So we appreciate Choices a lot for that. They're a great organization. And then goals for the future here. We're a very new organization, so we've only done that one fundraiser so far for Choices. But I would love to see us, continue on this organization even past the time I'm here in supporting Choices Clinic, supporting JMJ Clinic, which a lot of the students that are involved in are.
What's JMJ Clinic?
It's a. I don't believe that they're a clinic in the way that Choices is, but they're a resource center as well.
Okay.
A lot of the folks that are involved in the UCF SFLA actually volunteer there as well, and
Okay.
CCM actually.
Awesome.
So they're a great clinic. I would personally love to visit with them and work with them in a future semester. Like I said, we've had very little time for the semester so
Right,
far,
right.
so
But it's
I'm
okay because you're gonna get it started for what's next to come.
exactly, yes.
Exactly.
And then I'm wanting to collect diapers as well and just keep them at my table so that if any moms walk by that
Oh,
are looking for
that's
something, I
awesome.
can just hand them right to them.
Right.
Maybe like little care packages or something. And then also, I'm personally connected with like foster care. I have two adopted siblings myself, and so that's something that I personally care a lot about. And so, we often get this criticism that, well, you don't really care for people after they're born. That's not true at all. Most pro-lifers are actually some of the strongest advocates for people after they're born. Churches especially are huge into caring for their community. And so that's one way that I think that would be a good way to not only just help in the world and help those children that are in unfortunate circumstances, but also, you know, have something to show for it as well.
Right. And just to backtrack on what has recently been happening with your group, on April 15th at 12 p.m., there was a March for Life of UCF students, and I believe Choices was partnered with you all for that march, correct?
Sort of, yeah. So this one, it was a March for Life that was also a fundraiser. So all the
Okay.
time that we're using to prepare for the march, I had a fundraiser open, and then all of that money that we collected is going to go toward Choices. So
Wow, that's awesome. And how long did it take you to, get that started? Why did you want to have a march on campus? Is there like anything that like made you want to do it this semester, or?
it was a great way to get some ground going for this club. It's like I said, a lot of people don't even know that it's here. So having something that's a large body of students all marching through a campus, holding signs and chanting and whatever, it's a good way to get attention. I'm not gonna
Right.
lie. And so if it's a good way to gather people that are like, oh, I didn't know that that was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good reason for it. And then also it's such in Central Florida, especially, there's this huge like swarm of opposing voices, and I feel as though a lot of pro-life students or conservative students or Christian students feel like they are few and far between, but I don't think that's true. I think that we just need to connect a little bit more. And so, since this is a common ground issue, we can find on, you know, just about every denomination across Christianity, even across different religions. I invited Muslims out, I invited Jews out, anybody that would be on the same ground on this. I thought it was a great opportunity to connect with each other. So.
That's awesome. So, when you already had this idea, were you like communicating with your family, with your friends? Were you like asking them like, "What do you think about this?" Or did you already have like the reins on it and were like, "Okay, this is happening. This is gonna happen this date," sort of deal?
Yeah, I've participated in a few March for Lives myself with
Okay.
other pregnancy clinics. So there's the pregnancy center. They have a few locations in Central Florida. That's actually just the name of it. It's just called the pregnancy center. Um,
Okay, very simple for those who are
yeah.
interested
And so
learning about that.
I kind of knew how it worked already a little bit, and so it wasn't like a ton of thinking that had to go into it because
Okay.
I already have an idea.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of talking to. Yeah. The SFLA regional coordinator, Kristen Murray, she actually just retired. She had a baby, so she's gonna stay at home for a while. Um, she actually had a baby that day that we were doing it. So yeah, baby Henry's born.
Oh,
She helped me out. She got me connected with some other people that would be able to help. She gave me a ton of signs that I can bring.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and then since she had her baby, we have a new regional coordinator. Her name is Mia. They're both wonderful people. And so a couple nights before the event, she traveled all the way down. She at like 10 o'clock at night, she handed me a bunch of signs as well. So the SFLA community has been very, very helpful in making sure that I have everything I need and I feel prepared. The Choices Clinic, they've also been very helpful. They're going to have their March for Life, they're calling it a Walk for Life next week on the 25th. And so they've been very helpful at all, saying, hey, if you need anything to hand out, like any people that need to have connections to Choices, we have these little cards you can hand out. So they've also been wonderful in making sure that I'm prepared and have everything I need.
That's really awesome. Um, where does all the sleep fit in this? That's wild. You're constantly on the move, constantly. I mean, you know, put in a lot of work in just to get this approved on a campus as an affiliated RSO, for the continued years to come. And it seems like you're communicating with so many other people. I mean, does it feel like work? Does it feel exhausting sometimes or draining? Or like, where do you get all the energy to keep on advocating for this?
Yeah, I mean, outside of school, this is my entire life. It's shaped how I go about my day-to-day life. It's one of those topics where the more you learn about it, the more you feel like you need to do something. And I really feel like that is that way more than any other topic. We're talking about, you know, the intentional deaths of millions upon millions of people. And it's not something you can just stand around and say, well, it just is what it is. And even if you watch an abortion procedure too, it's like you can't not say something. It's horrific. And those are real human beings. So I find it a great pleasure to have the time and it's a blessing that I, am able to pour my life into this. And I'm so grateful to be involved in this movement. Um, it's even shaped the way that I want to do my career. I'm a biomedical science major, and I used to think that I wanted to do uh, neurosurgery. And I took a class that was in research, and I was able to, research what I wanted for the first part of it. And I researched neurology, and I was like, this is kind of boring. I feel like I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
But then getting involved in this, I was like, this is something that I will always be passionate in. And in fact, I think I will even get more passionate in it. So I'm never going to see myself getting bored of this. So hopefully my career will be somewhere along the lines of biomedical science and also advocating for women in these scenarios. So.
Okay, and did you already always think maybe you were going to be involved in grassroots politics somehow? I mean, are your parents, pretty strong advocates of things? And you just said that, you do have foster siblings, so I'm assuming that they maybe have like a pretty grounded idea of like pro-life advocacy and such.
Yeah, that's a great question. My family's never really been involved in politics until COVID. That was
Okay.
kind of my dad's like eye-opening, like, oh, I don't trust the government kind of thing. And so then he got really involved in it. And so that's whenever my family started having these conversations. And then, like I mentioned, the 2024 elections is whenever I started getting involved in it. I wasn't able to vote until the 2024 elections, so even if I did care, it's like what am I going to do
Right.
about it? Um, I turned 18 the day before the election, so it was perfect. Um, so yeah, that's whenever I started getting involved in it. My family has always been Christian, but not always super involved in the church. It kind of goes up and down. But luckily, like I said, ever since COVID, it's been on the uptrend. So that's it's a wonderful thing um, to be raised in a Christian home. Um, and regarding the fostering thing, my parents said that they've always planned on fostering at some
Okay.
point, but it certainly was not according to their plan when we did. So that was just a beautiful thing that just sort of walked into our life at the most unexpected time. But I'm so blessed and so grateful.
God works in the
Um,
most unexpected times. So
oh yeah,
yeah.
it's anytime you doubt God, like I think about my family upbringing and like there's no way that He doesn't exist given how everything turned out. So.
And what were students' reactions when you were marching and protesting to advocate pro-life and to defund Planned Parenthood?
The reactions the day of were very peaceful, actually.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised, given that I know that a lot of the conservative groups tend to counter protest a lot of the more left leaning groups in a lot of things. So I was like, oh, this is definitely going to be their time to clap back at us. Like, they're going to make a fool of us. They're going to do whatever they can to try and, spit at us, throw like insults or whatever. There wasn't a lot, actually.
Okay.
There's just people more so just like videotaping. There's a people laughing at us, but like it was whatever. Like, it was a very peaceful event. And I truly am so grateful for all the people that came out and walked with us. We prayed beforehand, we played worship music throughout it, and so I truly believe that it was a very successful event. I'm very happy with how it went, and I hope that the peacefulness of it spoke for itself.
How did the photos and all that make you feel like when like looking back and seeing that you're a part of like such a big movement that you're leading this movement? How does that make you feel?
It made me very proud. I was in the front of the crowd making sure that people knew where the route was because I made the route. And only me and a few other knew the route prior, so I was in the front making sure we were going the right way. And so I didn't have a lot of opportunity to look back and like see people like not just holding their sign here, not like proudly holding their sign up and chanting loudly saying we are the pro-life generation and we will abolish abortion. It was such a cool thing to see afterward, the videos of them being so loud and proud about it and boldly
Right.
standing up for what they believe in, especially like I said in a Central Florida location where it feels like nobody else agrees. So it was really cool.
Definitely. It's really interesting because, I haven't really seen like anything like that on campus. I mean, you do sometimes like or a lot of the times from, Planned Parenthood or other organizations. I feel like sometimes people may be scared or nervous of like advocating for something that like not a lot of students are interested in or side with. So looking back at the video, like she said, just it was incredible. It was like wow, like even if you maybe not may not be an advocate for pro life, just I think looking at that and looking at people utilizing their free speech and being able to do that in this country is pretty incredible. So that post, the specific video of you all chanting, to define Planned Parenthood and for pro-life advocacy, it did reach. It was posted on UCF Night News, and it reached 4,083 likes, 720 comments. How do these engagements ratings make you feel about being involved in the movement of pro-life advocacy?
Yeah, I might specify. I checked it this morning. It is still going up. I checked. I didn't even know the stuff posted on Facebook, but the engagement on Facebook is even like I think 1.2 thousand comments.
Oh my
Like, it's a
gosh! Wow.
lot. So it definitely caused quite a bit of a ruckus online. Um,
But
but
hey, all publicity is good publicity,
amen,
right?
amen, sister. Um,
Exactly.
I'm sorry. The question.
How do the engagement ratings like make you feel?
Yeah, it's cool to see people care. Regardless of which side you're on here, it's cool to see people care. I wish that they'd care a little bit more in person. I'm not gonna lie, because I see these people that are so passionate online and would love to debate about it in my comments. But I'm out there several days a week waiting for conversations, and people just want to hurl insults at me and spit at me. I'm like, if you feel so strongly about it, come talk about it. It's a little disheartening to see people that only want to talk about it online, but you know what? Any conversation is good, and I'm glad that, we can actually have conversations. Even if some of them feel a little bit like more like they're just trying to insult than actually have conversations.
Right.
Regardless, they're still hearing the perspective, so I'll take it.
And how do you respond to the negative comments on social media? Do you respond back like a clap back? Are you like giving them information? Are you like just ignoring it? And does it affect like your mindset moving forward? Does it make you nervous moving forward, or how do you feel about that?
It really depends on what it's saying specifically. There's a few of them that, if they're trying to insult me, but they actually have a message behind it, I'll respond to it, and it's not like a clapback or anything. Usually, it's me just kind of calling out exactly what it is they're saying. Like, let me try and think of a good example here. Um, or here, there's some of them that are like, well, you don't really care because what about all the children in Gaza? Why don't you have signs for the children in Gaza? And I'm like, so I don't understand how that makes any sense. Just because we're sitting here saying that these 73 million shouldn't die, why should I be saying that, X many should? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So, there's some where I can tell they're just trying to insult. They're not actually saying anything productive here. But I'll still inform them and be like, listen, just because I don't have a sign for every issue in the world doesn't mean that I don't want those people to die.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, why is this considered a right? Which is crazy, saying that it's a right to kill other people. But you care about these ones. See, it seems like more like you're the hypocrite here for saying that. That too, by pointing out the hypocrisy they're saying, even if they don't want to grant that abortion is killing, I can tell them like, hey, what about the Christians in Africa? Why didn't you mention them? Do you hate them? Do you want them dead? Like, obviously not. It's such a hypocritical thing to try and say, and I just think it's a silly one to try and say. So that one, yeah, stuff like that. I'll give an informed response and also tell them, think before you speak here, because this doesn't make any sense. There's some of them where I just won't respond to, like the ones that are just, complete ad hominem. Like, I get a lot of like, oh, what a chud march or stupid stuff like that. And then shout out Isla. I'm on the SFLA account, so I can't really respond to a lot of the things that are said that are just complete, like, idiocracy, if I'm honest. She says all the things that not all of them, let me specify there. She gets a little much sometimes for even me, but that's her free speech. I'm all for it. But sometimes she's able to be a little bit more direct than I can. So shout out Isla. Yeah. She's my keyboard warrior.
Awesome. She's like the PR person. Like, okay.
Not officially on SFLA. Let me put that out there. She's not the official, but she's out there advocating for it.
Using her free speech to advocate for pro-life, so good for her.
Yes.
Just as those people who are pro-choice that are, giving their freedom of speech in the comments. Now, when it comes to in person, has there been like a lot of people that like have interacted with you that don't like what you stand for, or that maybe are willing to have a really good conversation? Maybe some of these people that you have conversations with, have they been like, are they pro-choice, and then maybe kind of now after speaking with you have more of a pro-life mindset, you think?
Yeah. So that one's a bit of a mixed bag. So like I mentioned, there's a really large amount of people that come up to me and just have genuine questions. I love those conversations. Neither of us are coming at this with an agenda or trying to attack each other. It's just, hey, what about X, Y, and Z scenario? What are your thoughts on that? And I'm like, well, thank you for asking. And then I'll answer genuinely. There's always the ones that are going to come up and say, well, you hate women, or I've had one woman that biked by and she's like, as a woman, you disgust me. And it's like, for those ones, it's just, you have a blessed day. We're not going to have an actual conversation here. So have a blessed day. Thanks for sharing, I guess. So yeah, there's nothing productive that's going to come out of it. There's no point in engaging it. So yeah, and then...
And moving forward from that, what impact do you hope that your club has on campus?
The impact, like I mentioned, just to make sure so that women feel connected to resources, that they know that they are supported. I think that that's the most important thing about the pro-life movement, is making sure that people don't feel like abortion is their only option. Pro-choice has this false notion that, we're about the options, but I don't really ever seem to find that when it comes to a pro-choicer, because what's the choice that they're advocating for here? Abortion. You're pro-abortion. You can just say that. You're pro-abortion. That's how it is. So.
Yeah, and with that, have you had any Planned Parenthood people come up to you to your tabling event, or like ran into any like one from Planned Parenthood before?
Yeah.
And do they like, how does that interaction look like?
There is a Planned Parenthood RSO on this campus, and they do table on occasion. They don't, whenever I see them, sometimes I'll bring my table and just park right in front of them. And some people will walk by and be like, oh, I see what's going on here. It's really funny to watch. But they don't really do a lot of interacting with us. We've gone up to them a couple times and asked them some questions, and they're nice, respectful people, but they are definitely not for conversation. So, I mean, it is what it is. So,
And I heard you say that you are involved with other campus organizations, and how does that influence or inspire your work in SFLA?
yeah, I'm involved with a few political clubs and also ministries. So, Turning Point and Young Americans for Freedom have both been wonderful ways for me to get connections, not only, for SFLA and finding like-minded individuals, but just great friends. It's really good to have a community of like-minded people to, build each other up. Because while I love the conversations, with opposing voices, um, it's good to have friends around you that don't think that you are crazy or hate women or just
Most
want to oppress
definitely.
women. So, that's always a good thing. And then also ministries. I would encourage any Christian on this campus to get connected with the ministry. That's how we're told to go about our walk with God, is to sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron. So
Okay, and is there any last message that you would like to give to the in-crowd viewers about your organization or just about yourself overall?
yeah. Hmm. I would say get connected with a pregnancy center, or at least know of one, so that if you ever come across a woman that is facing an unexpected pregnancy, you have somebody that you know that you can trust, that you can bring them to. Um, Educate yourself. Most importantly, these conversations will come up at some point. It's not something that I think that we can bury our head in the sands in. Um, I mean, like I mentioned, this is the deaths of millions on millions of people. This is real human beings, not clumps of cells, not, parasites, not property of a woman's body. These are real human beings, separate human beings from the mother, that are alive. And so this is definitely not something to bury your head in the sand about. It's not a right. Um, so, yeah, educate yourself. These conversations will come up, whether or not connected to you. I don't know, but they will come up. And I would encourage you to get active about it. You don't have to be super politically involved to get involved in this. I am quite disheartened. I'm sorry, this is quite a long one message, but
No, it's okay.
I'm quite disheartened that it's become such a political issue. I wish it wasn't, because it really is a human rights issue. At the end of the day, it's civil rights. The right to life supersedes any other right after it. And I believe that it's intentionally written that way. Right. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I believe it's first for a reason. And so without the right to life, you have nothing else.
Yeah,
So
it's
I,
beautiful to say that way.
so yeah, I wish that it wasn't so political. And I'm hoping that at some point we can get to, a point in society that it's just unthinkable. I believe that the civil rights movement, regarding slavery started out that way, with a lot of the same conversations. As a white man, I'm entitled to this, or it's less than a human because it's black. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We all share the same humanity, and the differences among us don't make us less human or less valuable. We all have the same inherent value, regardless of age, race, development, sex, religion, where you're born, and like that. We all share that humanity, and so we all deserve that same right to life.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for
Thank,
being here
thank
with me
you.
today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Stay prayed up in crowd. Thank you.